The following is an encore presentation of U.S. Modernist Radio, underwritten by the Brent R. Harris Charitable Trust, restorer of Richard Neutra's Kaufman Desert House in Palm Springs and 6 other houses in California, by the E. Fay Jones Conservancy, preserving the legacy of modernist architecture in Northwest Arkansas, efayjonesconservancy.org, and by Diane Bald and the Budman family, restoring significant architecture in Toronto, Los Angeles, Malibu, and Palm Springs.
Hello, I'm Kevin MacLeod from Tim and Kev's Big Design Adventure, and you are listening to US Modernist Radio.
Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Oh, I don't care what Mama don't allow, gonna draw mine modern anyhow. Mama don't allow no architecture around here.
Welcome to U.S. Modernist Radio, where we talk and laugh with people who enjoy, own, create, dream about, preserve, love, and hate modernist architecture, the most exciting and controversial buildings in the world. In 1966, the first episode of Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek launched a franchise that's still going strong over 50 years later. Sequels, movies, toys, fan films, there's just no end to Star Trek's supply of a bright, progressive, optimistic future. One where Earth had its act together, having transcended national and international politics. Something architecture fans may have missed, and we certainly did, is that Star Trek portrayed this optimistic future by reaching into the design styles of mid-century modernism. Its inherent forward-looking appeal never appears dated. Today, we meet authors Dan Chavkin and Brian McGuire. They have a new book, Star Trek Modern: How Mid-Century Design Shaped the Final Frontier. Then later on, George achieves a 50-year fanboy quest when he talks to legendary singer Jennifer Warnes. Yes, that Jennifer Warnes. And now, beaming up from SETI Alpha 5, where you can always get a great deal on fresh eel, a Star Trek II Wrath of Khan movie reference, here's your host, George Smart.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. These immortal words of Star Trek debuted on TV 54 years ago. Just brings me chills. And it was pitched to the network as a space western in the mode of other TV westerns at the time, like The Virginian, Bonanza, and Gunsmoke. Cowboys in space. But producer Gene Roddenberry delivered so much more, a compelling vision for the future. Yet that was a long time ago. Just like fewer people under 30 have heard of the Beatles, fewer and fewer people know about the original Star Trek. You know, the one with Kirk and Spock. It's the one that deranged, dedicated fans, such as myself, refer to as TOS, or the original series. That separates it from TAS, the animated series, TNG, the Next Generation with Picard and Riker, DS9 for Deep Space Nine with Sisko and Dax, VOY for Voyager with Janeway and Seven of Nine, and many more, right up to the current Discovery series on CBS. Clearly, I know too much about this.
And I recognize those acronyms too, so I'm in the club too.
Dan Chavkin and Brian McGuire are writing a new book. We are breaking the story here. It is coming out in 2021 on the furnishings, artwork, and props chosen for Star Trek, the original series. Photographer Dan Chavkin is a photographer and a graphic designer and a collector of all things modernist, including mid-century modern furniture and vintage periodicals, which we'll have to talk about a little bit, Dan. In 2008, he took a trip to Palm Springs, saw the wealth of mid-century modern architecture there, and shifted his celebrity photography practice to architecture. He's the author of a book on mid-century designers Jerome and Evelyn Ackerman, and you may recall their daughter Laura has been on the podcast previously. Dan also published a book of his architectural photography called Unseen Mid-Century Desert Modern. Welcome, Dan.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Brian McGuire's 1,400 square foot prefab steel house in Palm Springs, designed in 1961 by Donald Wexler and Rick Harrison, became the first post-war structure recognized by the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. It's a big deal. Plus, he's the deep dive Star Trek fan of this duo, and later I take on Brian in a Star Trek trivia contest. Brian's been published in Atomic Ranch. He's a fan of Airstream trailers. Like, I think Matthew McConaughey is really into that too. He has quite a collection. And I like this letter he wrote opposing a development in 2010. And I quote, this is Brian McGuire. To the Architectural Advisory Committee, I would like to suggest we take this opportunity to design something for this tract that is unique and sensitive, not another set of mind-numbing McStucco boxes that are an insult to those who have to live with them and an irritant to those of us who have to look at them. Ooh. Amen. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you very much. You know more about me than I do.
We have a great research staff that works on all of this for us.
I guess.
Before we get started, gentlemen, this book sounds like it got created in a bar where one of you said, I like modernism, and the other one said, I like Star Trek, and voila, you've got a peanut butter and chocolate Reese's cup idea. Is that about right? Is that how it happened?
No, I wish it were so. That sounds fantastic, but no, that's not how it began.
Tell us.
Well, it began about 4 years ago, and not very ceremoniously, but I was sort of in between binge-watching television shows online, as most people do these days. And on Hulu, I came across the original series, and I thought, wow, this would be a great opportunity, really for the first time, to watch the entire 3 seasons of Star Trek. And that really began my journey into watching the show.
And was that just by yourself, or was Brian involved in?
No, that was just by myself. Yeah, it was just independent.
And at some point, a light bulb went off, and you thought, book?
No, not exactly. I think what happened was upon watching the show, within the first several episodes of the first season, I noticed what I think is, an important piece of mid-century modern design in the episode Man Trap. And it was a piece of architectural pottery by the designer John Paulus. Then the light bulb sort of dimly went on, because I then realized, well, I'm going to be watching the show anyway. And if I happen to see anything that is familiar to me, like this piece of pottery, then perhaps there's something here. Perhaps there's some sort of idea or concept. And fortunately, as I got through some of the episodes, episode after episode, I noticed other pieces of mid-century modern furniture and design. And by the end of watching all 3 seasons, I essentially amassed quite a decent collection of mid-century modern design. And that really was the springboard for coming up with the concept for the book.
Brian, how did you come to Star Trek? I assume it was more than 4 years ago.
Well, I grew up watching the original series. And regarding Dan's initial research, he had done a series of screen grabs. Whenever he saw an object of interest, he would do a screen grab of it. So he ended up with a couple hundred images. And since he wasn't a Trekkie and had not taken notes on where each image came from, he sent them all to me in a zip file. So with my knowledge of Star Trek, one by one, I started identifying the episodes that they came from for, future research. And the images distilled into about 12 or 13 key episodes. And so that's what we focused on in our research. And so that became the framework of the book.
Now, Brian, which is correct? Is it Trekkies or Trekkers that refer to Star Trek fans?
I've always heard Trekkies, but that doesn't mean that Trekker doesn't mean something or something else.
Yeah, I've heard Trekkies too for decades, but it seems like Trekker is coming into the vocabulary as well.
It makes me think of that well-known documentary from some years ago about Trekkies, because I believe the documentary is called Trekkies.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
It. Yeah. So they're both correct. Tomato, tomato.
Yes.
Tomato, tomato. Just like the new commercials out for Uber Eats with Patrick Stewart and Luke Skywalker.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, I've seen that, yes.
As they battle on the tomato, tomato question.
Right.
Brian, for those that don't know the original series, tell us the basic plot and the major characters.
Okay, well, as you pointed out in your introduction, it was originally a 5-year voyage to explore the universe. The main characters included, of course, Captain James T. Kirk, the first officer, Spock. Then there was Sulu, the helmsman, Chekhov, the navigator, Lieutenant Uhura, communications officer, Montgomery Scott, the engineer, Leonard McCoy, the physician, and then a bunch of additional minor characters.
Yeah, they were called the red shirts, right? Because they were the ones that got knocked off at the beginning of every episode.
Yeah, whenever there's a landing party with red shirts, you know someone's going to die because they're expendable.
It's like, I think there's some old song. It's a crew that's expendable, crew that's expendable.
Oh yeah.
Expendable. Anyway.
But what was fascinating about the series were some of the very, very talented guest stars they had. Very, very good actors and actresses that supported the plot.
Like who?
Joanne Linville, who played the Romulan commander in Enterprise Incident. Barbara Anderson, who played Lenore in Conscience of the King. Eleanor Donahue. Joan Collins.
Lee Merriweather.
Yeah.
Let's see, she was Catwoman, one of the 3 Catwomen in the Batman series.
That is true, yes.
So
and
Catwoman was in Star Trek?
She was. Oh, yeah.
She was in That Which Survives, I believe.
Yeah.
Season 2.
She went on to star in Barnaby Jones when he had his little Private Eye series in the 70s.
You know your trivia.
I do. I'm waiting for you, Brian. We're going to go at it mano a mano.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Dan, tell us about the ship. What was the ship like, and what were the main rooms that you see on the TV series?
Well, certainly the deck, which was the center of most activity.
You mean the bridge?
The bridge.
Yeah.
Sorry, the bridge. In terms of mid-century modern furniture, all roads sort of begin on the bridge because all the chairs that the crew sat on were these what are called Burke chairs, which were derivative chairs, replicas of the famous Arrow, Sarin, and Tulip chairs that the prop department, the art department, sort of modified for the show. In addition to that, you have all the crew's quarters, like Captain Kirk's and Uhura's, that contained some light elements of mid-century modern design.
Yeah, how did they adapt the chairs for the bridge? It seemed like they just sort of scooped out the sides of them, made them a little narrower.
What they did is they actually added these sort of leather attachments, which gave them a kind of rise and a kind of, I suppose, more sort of futuristic look. And then they put these sort of triangular medallions to the backs of the chairs as well. Is that accurate, Brian?
Exactly, yeah. Uh-huh.
So you've got the bridge, you've got the captain's quarters. I think they also featured like the engineering room quite a bit.
The engineering room. In Mantrap, they feature the nursery of exotic plants.
All right. Were most of the mid-century furniture pieces that were adapted, they were on the ship, right? It seemed like when they beamed down to a planet, they didn't have as good a supply of furniture down there.
It depends upon where they beamed down to. If it was a primitive civilization, of course, there was nothing. But what we found in the Target episodes is that whenever they visited a highly advanced, sophisticated culture, it was a plethora of mid-century design, and also the various star bases they stop at. So the Enterprise itself was merely the beginning. It's where they visited each week, where you find the really cool items.
Star Trek, besides being a sci-fi series, really took on social issues of the time, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I think women in positions of authority and technical ability. Of course, there was Uhura, being a woman of color. It seemed that most crew members were cross-trained, such that Uhura could take over the helm if she had to. At one point, Yeoman Janice Rand was thrown into the navigation chair. I think female empowerment was a very big thing. Race relations, you had that allegorical episode, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, in the 3rd season, where there was a race war between a civilization. They were split down the middle. Half of them was black, half was white, and then the other race was the opposite. And they couldn't live together.
And they had the female Romulan commander you mentioned earlier. And I believe they had one of the admirals was African-American.
Yes, I don't remember his name offhand.
I think that was Percy Rodriguez, who was a breakthrough actor in Peyton Place a few years earlier, a soap opera that came on the air. They were the black family in that series.
I can tell you're going to be a formidable opponent in the trivia. And then the fact that if you look on the bridge, you have a very multiracial.
Yes, absolutely.
You had an Oriental, you had a Russian, you had a Scotsman. It was a new concept in the 60s.
And a Vulcan, Spock.
And a Vulcan,
And
right.
a Vulcan, of course.
Right.
Yeah, half Vulcan,
absolutely.
technically, but still.
And a white man.
Yes. And then James Tiberius Kirk, intergalactic womanizer.
And there's that, yes.
Yeah.
Indeed, yes, indeed.
Dan, who were some of the designers, and what items did they design or adapt that showed up in the show most frequently?
Well, you had designers. I mean, it was quite a fraternity of American and European designers whose pieces were in the show. They weren't necessarily adapted to, the actual episodes. They were just sort of placed in them, so they weren't altered in any way. But you have designers anywhere from Milo Boffman to Joe Colombo to the lighting of Bill Curry. You have lights also from Tom Green, Curtis Juret, some of the other architectural pottery designers like Malcolm Leland. Paul McCobb was another one of the Trouble with Tribbles episode. You even had the inclusion of minimalist brawn design in the form of a movie camera by the Bauhaus designer Robert Oberheim for the episode Patterns of Force. And then Warren Plattner, he was a major designer. And Arthur Umanoff was also an important American designer whose design can be seen in Captain Kirk's actual captain's chair. That in fact was adapted for that.
One of the great features of your book is that you identify all these items by episode, and then you tell people if the companies are still around.
We have an index at the end of all the key items, so if someone is interested in decorating their house into the Star Trek set, they know how to do it.
Are any of these designers that you just rattled off a few minutes ago still with us?
I believe most of them are not, actually. In my research, I found that most of them are no longer with us.
Been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may be one or two, but essentially they're all gone. I mean, these were designers whose height of their design and creativity spanned between the 1950s into the 1960s.
Right.
Essentially, some of which extended into the 1980s and 1990s. And again, some of these designs are manufactured today by such companies as Knoll International.
So what's the easiest item from the TV series you can still buy? You can go on the internet and find someplace.
Well, the Burke chairs actually you can still buy. You can certainly go on eBay and find Burke chairs. Definitely. Okay. Yeah. Some of the other items, I mean, most of the items, if you did a search, particularly on eBay, you could generally find examples of. But, of course, they're all today, of course, considered vintage items. They weren't then.
Yeah, the Burke company is out of business, so you can't get any brand new Burke dinette sets. But as you mentioned, Knoll still makes the original design of Ira Saranan. In fact, I'm sitting on one as we speak.
So will these look like the Star Trek chairs, or do you have to modify them once you buy them?
Well, actually, there is a kit available on the Internet where you can modify your own Burke chair into a Star Trek chair.
Really? A kit?
They offer the vinyl black extender on the back and little triangular decals. I haven't gone that far, but you can do that.
Somebody should go that far. That sounds like
somebody probably has.
Yeah.
There are also kits available to build your own captain's chair. So there you
I've
have
seen those. I've seen those, and we're going to talk about some recreations of that in a minute. But I want to ask some questions about you two guys individually. Dan, back in the day, when no one wanted to be in Palm Springs, except spring break teens and car cruisers, weren't you one of those teens Sonny Bono was trying to drive out of town?
When he was mayor?
Wow, you do know more about me than I know about myself. That's very good. Is there going to be this is your life
This
moment?
Is your life, exactly.
So I would take that as a yes?
Yes. No, I in fact was, and I wouldn't go as far as to say that I was one of the extremely rowdy, rebellious ones in town, but I certainly participated in spring break in the 1980s, for sure.
I mean, we all know about the glamorous Palm Springs as it's come back since the 90s, but what was 80s Palm Springs like?
Oh, boy.
It was dead.
Unfortunately, in the 80s, I wasn't terribly aware of the architecture and design. I mean, being a kind of, eager 18-year-old who just simply wanted to have fun on a spring break. But it was probably fairly sleepy at the time. My recollection of it was just really a town revolving around its main drag, its main street, Palm Canyon Drive. And that was the center of activity, and everything that went on happened on that street and along that whole entire corridor.
At that point, Hollywood had kind of forgotten about Palm Springs. It wasn't glamorous anymore.
No.
It didn't have the cachet at all.
Were there movie stars there at that
There were
point?
some still around, but they had either moved out and gone down valley or they had gone back to L.A. Modernism was out of favor anyway since the early 70s. So nobody cared.
That's true. Yeah, it was out of favor. And, I mean, case in point, I think at that time, perhaps you can shed some light on it, Brian, but the neighborhood in which Brian's steel frame house resided was quite sort of bad neighborhood and really, really forgotten. And
it was a slum. And when I first started driving out to Palm Springs in the late 90s, the city was deserted and a lot of homes were boarded up. And it was probably the mid-late 1990s when Palm Springs got rediscovered. And I bought my steel house in about 2005. And that's actually how I met Dan Chavkin. He was in the process of establishing himself as the go-to architectural photographer. And so when I did the National Register application for my steel house, he did the photo shoot. So that's how I got to know him, was through possession of my modernist house.
And I bet it was a delight to photograph, Dan.
Absolutely.
Dan is so talented. He just made that house glow when he did his photo shoot. And I think it was enlarged due to his talent that the application was successful.
Dan, your book, Unseen, featured a lot of overlooked, underappreciated, or literally off the radar mid-century moderns in the desert. That book opened up a whole new vista for modernist fans, didn't it?
Yes, yeah, it did. It really did. And certainly with opening up a kind of grouping of homes that are very exclusive or in country clubs in gated communities. And I think as the interest in modernism and modernist architecture grows, so too are people's eagerness to see other homes that they haven't seen before, that they can't certainly drive by to see. And so my attempt was to open that up a bit for people.
It's a great book. I've seen the book, and it really does highlight some of the houses that you wouldn't normally hear about in the Valley.
Thank you.
Now, Dan, one of the most interesting things that we learned about you, and I don't know if this is still true or not, are you still living in the Hideaway Hotel?
No, I no longer live there. I lived there initially for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, on the property. And to make a long story short, I began living on the property in actually one of the rooms in the hotel. It's a 10-room hotel from 1947 by the architect Herbert Burns. And I was essentially that first summer in 2009, I was basically hotel sitting, which I hadn't heard of that as an occupation prior, but I soon became one, very, very happily, and that's how it all began, really, in living in the grounds of the hotel.
I've been to the Hideaway Hotel, and it's a cool little spot. It's like, how many rooms? 10?
Yeah.
Just a perfect little boutique size around a gorgeous pool?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a functioning hotel now, right?
It is a functioning hotel.
Was it
yes.
when you lived there?
It was.
Okay.
I was able to live on the grounds, even though it was still in operation, because there was a room on the side of the hotel that was a kind of studio apartment, if you will. And It was not being rented as an actual room in the hotel. So I had my own entrance and all that.
Were you like the night manager, security guard, all rolled into one? Did you have to do anything around the property?
Not terribly. I mean, I did when I took on the hotel sitting job. Occasionally we'd get someone, some sort of drunk tourist somehow finding himself in front of the property and forgetting which room he was in.
Some rowdy teenager?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
like me in the 80s. Right. Beyond that, no, it was fairly calm. I mean, we've had parties there, a lot of weddings, events. The hotel is a big part of Modernism Week here in Palm
Absolutely,
Springs
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, that's a gig I want, is to live for 5 years at the Hideaway Hotel.
It would be great. It was pretty fantastic.
Well, let's get back to Star Trek. Guys, what was your methodology for creating the book? Once you decided on doing it together, how did you go about pulling it all into place?
Well, after Dan had done his initial screen grabbing process, then he sent me the images, and I arranged them into episode. Then we identified the objects that we wanted to research. So Dan would then, with his knowledge, he already knew who the designer was, but he would create a biography of the designer and then research who the manufacturer was. And then for that episode, I would write a synopsis of the plot, and then we would try to weave it together and show how the item would articulate with the plot. And it was interesting that in some ways the mid-century item almost became a guest star.
Mm-hmm.
In how it influenced and advanced the plot that was going on.
And of course, you've got the whole technology side of Star Trek, the idea of the little communicators, which are now our phones, right, have come into being. We thought that was way off in the future when it first premiered.
We didn't get too much into individual props. Most of those had been produced by the set designers and the prop masters, and there was just no way to research those. The book is structured. We have one chapter for each season. Like season 1 has about 8 episodes, including the pilot, and then season 2 has 3, and season 3 has 3 episodes. Then we have special chapters for On the Bridge, Futurist Architecture, and then Miscellaneous. Mm-hmm. And then Dan is working on a final chapter called Brutalism, and I'm going to let you handle that one, Dan.
Yeah, they're in my viewing of the episodes. I noticed a placement of a lot of metal, sort of jagged, brutalist sculptures that were placed in many different environments, different planets, and different episodes. And to the extent that I thought a chapter should be devoted to just that, this idea of incorporating brutalist design into the book.
I read years ago that a medical device company wanted to sue Star Trek for stealing their idea of a bed that takes your vital signs like they had in sickbay. Did you hear anything about that?
I hadn't heard that, no.
No, I haven't heard that.
And we still don't have it. I mean, if their discovery was so important and they felt like their idea was getting robbed in 1966, why don't we have beds today that can take your blood pressure and pulse and analyze all the chemicals in your body and everything that Star Trek medicine could provide at the time? Huh? Why is that?
Well, it'd be wonderful if a microphone, which was used by
Dr. McCoy.
McCoy, I just blanked out, sorry, which he used as a medical device. It would be interesting if the microphone could do that as well.
That was the medical tricorder?
No, it was the heart rate monitor, which in real life is a microphone.
And he just waved it over people and he'd get all this great information.
And there were also medical devices that were actually salt and pepper shakers.
Okay.
And Dan has researched those.
Were they from a particular designer, Dan?
Yeah, well, they were Danish in design, and they're made by a company called Stelton that is still in existence today. And they fashioned a lot of those medical devices or pieces on this very shape of this salt and pepper shaker.
Now, at one time, and I think this stopped maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, Viacom, the owner of Star Trek, let fans produce their own sequels and alternative versions, the best of which is called Star Trek Continues, which also sought the original furniture Have you two seen that series online?
No.
No, I have not. No.
Look up Star Trek Continues. The producer
Okay.
and star who played Kirk is Vic Mignogna, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong. He put it together and actually brought the original series to a very charming close. He actually completed the 5-year mission.
It's like fan fiction.
Yeah, exactly. But Viacom doesn't let people do this anymore. And how did you guys get Viacom to agree to give you the photos?
Well, it was a matter of sort of happenstance and with a little bit of serendipity mixed in. I initially, when I finally formed the concept, of course, my immediate next step was to approach CBS because, of course, without their permission, you don't have a book. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't know anyone specifically or at CBS or who to contact, so I just sort of, in a blank, open sort of way, I wrote to CBS. I found an email to write to, and I sent them my proposal because I had put together a full proposal. It was visual. It contained the stills that I had made, pulled from the show. And to my slight surprise, I got, an immediate no without an explanation. And I couldn't really understand why, because I thought it was a very viable idea. It's one that has never been done before, to approach and inquire in this way. So I thought CBS would be open to it, but their sort of knee-jerk response was just to simply pass on it. So the idea, the book, just sort of lay dormant for several years, actually, until a friend of mine in Palm Springs happened to be at a cocktail party, and she had met someone who knew the right person who 3 years previous I should have known, or was the person to know, actually, rather, to contact. And I finally got that person's contact information and approached them and pitched her the idea. And she immediately loved it. And she basically said that she would be willing on my behalf to pitch the book concept, to several publishers.
Nice.
And that's how it happened. So with that second sort of go-around, I've got CBS's immediate approval.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the book is expected to come out when, approximately?
It's supposed to come out approximately August of 2021.
Okay. We're going to be putting it on the calendar.
Great.
Is anyone from the Star Trek cast or canon of sequels over the years going to write your introduction or endorse the book? Have you talked to any of those folks yet?
We've given the publisher 5 names of people who had guest starred in the episodes that we feature, and they're working on that now. But the intent is to have one of the guest stars do a foreword.
Oh, that would be fabulous. I know Lee Merriweather's still around. She was interviewed on another podcast I listened to, Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast. Hi, Frank and Gilbert. Have either of you two been to Ticonderoga?
No, you mentioned that to me. It sounds fascinating.
Ticonderoga, New York. This guy built a pretty much not full scale, but I guess full scale replica of the bridge and other key locations in the ship.
Based on the original blueprints.
Right. And he holds big Trek conferences there. Shatner shows up, and, it's a big deal. They have lots and lots of people when there's not a pandemic going on. But it's in this little town of Ticonderoga, New York. I think you two should make a field trip there, a little research. And they would certainly sell your book at the store.
That's an idea.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to mention that to our publisher. I think they would be very interested in that information.
We were also put in contact with a private collector who lives in Las Vegas. His name is Gerald Gurian, and he has an incredible collection of original behind-the-scenes photos. He has the entire set of art director Matt Jeffries' sketches, and he's very generously given us permission to use a lot of these in the book. So that was a real find. Star Trek has bounced around quite a lot just due to the corporate structure of the various studios. Of course, it used to be Desilu Studios, and that was bought by Gulf Western, which became Paramount, which became Viacom, which became CBS. There's been mergers, demergers. So along the way, a lot of the original objects have gotten lost or are in possession of private collectors now.
I know if you get in touch with Ben Stiller, he is a huge Star Trek fan. He owns one of the Gorn heads.
Okay.
I'm sure he'd be interested in this project.
Yeah,
So now,
I mean,
speaking of Gorn heads,
yeah.
it's time for our trivia contest. Brian, you ready?
No, I'm not, but I will try.
Okay, so Brian and I are going head-to-head in a Star Trek Original Series trivia contest. Each of us has prepared 5 questions of medium but not impossible difficulty. We're going to fire off those questions to each other. We'll go back and forth. Brian, the first question is for you. This is an easy one. Tribbles really like what and really hate what?
They really love Quadrotriticale,
Yes?
and they really hate Klingons.
Perfect. You have a point. All right.
Okay, this is for you. Name the episode that concerned a parallel culture resembling the Roman Empire.
Whom Gods Destroy?
No.
Okay, let's try again. I know this doesn't count, but I'm trying to. Was that the one with Michael Dunn?
You're thinking of another one.
I'm thinking of another one. The Roman
No, this
Empire.
is the Roman Empire.
Can you give him a hint?
Give me
You're
a hint.
thinking of Plato's stepchildren, I believe.
Yeah, I am. What is it? I give up.
Bread and circuses.
Bread and okay. Yeah, absolutely right. All right, question number 2. Score is 1-0. Brian is winning. Number 2, prop master Janos Prohaska created what alien in the episode Devil in the Dark?
The Horta.
Excellent. You're doing well here.
Okay, name the episode representing a pilot for a new Roddenberry-produced show that never materialized. And it's in season 2.
Yeah, this is the one with Terry Garr and Robert Lansing.
Very good.
And there it was about the Apollo program, and it had this beautiful woman that turned into a cat, and I can't remember the name of it.
It wasn't Catwoman, was it?
No, it wasn't Catwoman.
Oh, okay. I was trying to help.
It wasn't. No. Robert Lansing, Terry Garr. Okay, I can't get it.
We're going to give you partial credit for that.
Okay.
The name is Assignment Earth.
Okay.
And that is actually one of the episodes that is very heavily featured in the book because they beam down to 1960s Manhattan. And Robert Lansing's apartment is just full of mid-century items.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had a cool place in New York.
Yeah,
okay.
It was swanky.
I'm thinking here I should have come up with harder questions. Number 3, when Scotty quizzes Kirk with a chess problem, Queen to Queen's level 3, what is the right answer?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I know what episode that is.
Yeah.
That's from Whom Gods Destroy when they beam down to the insane asylum.
Right. Queens to Queen's level 3.
I don't know. I wouldn't get that. No.
The answer is Queen to King's level 1.
Okay.
And you know that?
I do know that one.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an old password. Okay, your turn.
Okay, 2 actresses guest starred in 2 episodes each. Name one of those actresses and the 2 episodes that they appeared in.
2 actresses starred in 2 episodes each. Well, let's see. It wasn't Joan Collins. It wasn't Mariette Hartley.
This might be a little difficult.
Maybe Susan Oliver. She was the green alien, the Orion slave girl. Okay, I have to give up on this one.
There are 2. Barbara Babcock.
Okay.
She was in Taste of Armageddon and Plato's Stepchildren.
All right.
And Diana Muldaur. She was in Return to Tomorrow and
Yes.
Is There in Truth No Beauty?
And she played Dr. Pulaski in The New Generation.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, well, I'm doing horribly so far. The score is 2 to 1/2.
Yeah.
With Brian leading. It's my turn for question number 4. Actress Mariette Hartley falls in love with Spock as Zarabeth in All Our Yesterdays. What actor did everyone think was her husband in subsequent Polaroid commercials?
I believe, was that James Garner?
Ding, ding, ding. You got that right. Another point. Your turn.
What is the longest name of a Star Trek episode? And it's 11 words.
Star Trek episode.
That's a lot to remember.
see, Is There in Truth No Beauty? That's not 11.
That's close. That's a good one.
The Corbomite Maneuver, that's 3. Where No Man Has Gone Before, that's a little longer. No.
It's in season 3.
It's in season 3. Can I get a hint for half a point since I'm behind?
Yeah, it's the quote of a character right before he dies. And the actor is John Lorner.
Wow.
Lormer.
Lormer. I don't know. Tell me.
For the world is hollow and I
have touched the sky. Okay, yep. All right. Last question. Again, this was way too easy. In the Corbomite Maneuver, after Kirk finds out he's been dealing with a very young Clint Howard pretending to be a menacing alien, what drink do they have together? Tranya. Excellent. Well done, Brian. Excellent.
Yay.
I think this is like baseball, where if you're leading at the bottom of the ninth, there's no last inning.
The book is Star Trek Modern: How Mid-Century Design Shaped the Final Frontier. I'm so ready to buy a copy. Thank you both. This has been delightful.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
The Greenbrier Resort is, on the surface, a magnificent 5-star hotel with restaurants, a little casino, and all the loveliness of the Blue Ridge Mountains near White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. You'll go back in time in an era of Gatsby and long dinners where people dressed up. There's golf and tennis and drinks on the porch. You could spend a week there and never run out of fun things to do. Back before 1992, you could stay a year and still not find the special hallway with a special access door that leads downstairs, way down deep. That was the year Ted Gupp of the Washington Post revealed that beneath the Greenbrier there was a massive but never used underground complex, hundreds of thousands of square feet, big enough for Congress. In fact, that's what it was built for, to house Congress in the event of nuclear war. There are staff areas, communication equipment, a hospital, a complete amazing world. In many ways, it's much more interesting than the above-ground hotel. And now you can visit what's called the bunker. If you go to the Greenbrier, you just have to ask. Our very special musical guest today has a career spanning now 7 decades, from her first public performance singing the national anthem to her latest album, Another Time, Another Place. She's a singer, songwriter, arranger, and record producer. And like the Greenbrier, the surface of her career is 5-star. I first saw Jennifer Warnes on the CBS Smothers Brothers show in the late 60s. Even then, I could tell there was something incredibly special about her. She had a huge hit with Right Time of the Night in 1977, and her above-ground Grammy and Oscar-winning legacies are duets with Joe Cocker and Bill Medley that you hear in every shopping mall and TV sitcom, and at the climax of every romantic or sports movie. The duets Up Where We Belong and I've Had the Time of My Life are particularly woven into the fabric of music history, listed in the 100 Greatest Songs by the American Film Institute. In 1988, the Smothers Brothers rebooted for a year and a half, and she performed one of my very favorite songs, which we'll hear later. She's Dick Smothers' favorite singer, and mine. Plus, there are legions of fans, most of whom leave the most loving, adoring comments on the YouTube videos of her songs. Then, in the Greenbrier of her life, there's a special door, down the hallway to the right. You leave the world of pop tunes and open up to a massive underground complex, although now you know where it is, so you can visit anytime you want. Beneath the surface, Jennifer Warnes has a complex of emotion unequaled by any other singer. Her long partnership with Leonard Cohen, who died in 2016, created a well of songs that opens you up to the breadth of human experience, from sadness to joy, to jealousy to compassion, to longing to justice. If you watched Saturday Night Live the weekend after the 2016 election, you heard one of Leonard Cohen's best-known songs, Hallelujah. And if there's one album I'd take to a deserted island, it would be Famous Blue Raincoat, released over 30 years ago, and regarded as the quintessential interpretation of Leonard Cohen's work outside of his own songs. I'm so happy that Jennifer Warrens is with us today. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, George. That's a real mouthful you've got there.
And what a metaphor.
Well, I had to struggle for that one, but it's just so true. I mean, once I started discovering all the things that were not in the top 40 about you, it was just amazing.
Yeah, it's a pretty checkered life.
Now, you started out, I believe, singing the Star-Spangled Banner at the LA Shrine Auditorium. How did that happen?
It was actually, "You're a Grand Old Flag." That was that song, and I was one of the singers for a concert that happened every year of all the students of the Milton Mann Accordion Academy.
Accordion?
Oh, wow. Because you featured accordion on a number of your songs.
No, I didn't fall in love with the accordion. I was just a singer who helped the accordions play. But
okay.
I'm not terribly fond of the accordion. I like that little one that Van Dyke plays on Lights of Louisiana, though. That's very nice.
Okay. That's the one. That's the song I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And then you had an opportunity to be an opera singer?
Yes, I won an opera scholarship to Immaculate Heart College coming out of high school. And I chose not to go back to studying because I had been studying voice as a kid, and it was just a lot of work, and I was ready to go see the world. So I didn't take the opera scholarship because it meant many, many, many hours of study for another decade.
And somewhere in there, was there a little jaunt into the possibility of being a nun?
Yes. I was invited. The way it works with nuns and little girls is that I was in a Catholic high school where the various orders observed their girls throughout 4 years, and then they would pick and choose the ones that they felt were whose personality was more suited to their order. And the St. Joseph's of Orange order needed some music people. So it was kind of being recruited to a certain degree. And I got a beautiful engraved invitation to spend a weekend in the summertime with those ladies. And what I found when I went for the weekend, because no girl should turn over a call from God.
Right.
Casually, I went in, and what I found is that every mealtime, at the end of every mealtime, they asked me to sing. So I left that weekend, and I figured, well, that's what God wants me to do, is to sing.
And singing nuns were really big at this point, I recall, in the early 60s.
Yeah, they had hit records.
One.
A hit record.
Yeah.
But you didn't follow that.
No, I didn't just sing about God. I sang about everything.
There is one song, though. I remember you did a short 1:07 on "O God of Loveliness," which is an old singing nuns tune.
That's actually in the Gregorian hymnal, the Catholic-approved liturgy, and it's a gorgeous song, just a beautiful song. I used to sing that as a child. It was the song that you choose to exit. That was playing you off stage. Yeah, "Oh God of Loveliness." It's a beautiful song.
And you went in the direction of musical theater, and then later you were in hair in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did the nuns know about that?
More than the nuns, actually.
Okay, well.
The Love Generation found me eventually. I did a lot of musical theater during high school and after, and joined the unions then, and loved it. Just loved it. And so it was an easy step across to get into the to the auditions of hair, and I felt comfortable on stage. I was pretty much raised on musical stages.
And how did the Smothers Brothers find you?
Pat Paulson was a house painter in Orange, California, and we shared the bill on the weekends at a fancy French restaurant called the Chez Carré, where Rudy Garnrick had some trunk shows. It was a real special place. We had this double bill. And when Pat Paulson was pulled into the Smothers Brothers group, he suggested that I be the warm-up act for the live audience at CBS. So I did that, and then Tom Smothers heard me and pulled me into the troupe. It was at a very young age, 19, I think. I was a part of a most illustrious, elite group of people who played every Sunday night, who did a show live.
Right. Was this around the time that Pat was running for president?
Just before that,
Okay.
yeah.
The Smothers Brothers, for those people that don't know, was a show a little bit like Saturday Night Live. There were musical components and lots of comedy skits.
Yep.
And it was very much against the Vietnam War, which was going on at the time. And I believe they got fired by CBS
Yes.
at some point.
That's right. Censorship. Laugh-In was happening at the time, and some variety programs.
And they were less objectionable to the CBS brass.
Well, we weren't terribly, Tom wasn't terribly objectionable to the CBS brass. He didn't do what they said he should do.
Yeah.
It was more a power thing than it was actually censorship.
And then came along, 1971, when you met Leonard Cohen?
There's a conflict about that in 1961 or 63. I'm not clear. There was a festival, international festival, at the Santa Ana YWCA, where a bunch of different local and non-local acts would represent a nation, and then there would be a food booth. And so you could go and have the foods of the culture and hear their music. So it was really a fascinating little weekend, and I did it one year as the representative of the United States, singing my same, George M. Cohan songs. And on the bill was Leonard Cohen speaking with a Cantor Goldstein behind him. So I was 14 then. So we don't have any hard proof yet. We have the program. I had a signed copy of his book when I was 14. So how would a 14-year-old girl get that when it just came out? So we've got little clues that come in from time to time that's where we met.
Leonard's work has been described as really the troubadour of his generation. I mean, it's the closest thing I've really seen to poetry set to music, both when he sings and when he's doing kind of a spoken word monologue.
Yes.
It's just so unique. I mean, I can't think of anybody else even in that genre.
Kerouac did a spoken word album.
Jack Kerouac.
And some of the comedians, they got in. So though Leonard didn't do a spoken word album, he was very strong on the lyric, very, very strong. But as it turns out, now that he's given us his entire body of work, it turns out that he's actually an incredible writer of melodies.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really fully acknowledged when he was with us.
You told me that you wrote a particular song, the Song of Bernadette, with Leonard when you were was it in Lourdes?
Yeah. We were on a bus on tour with Leonard, the Field Commander Cohen tour, and I was writing some letters back and forth. It's just a technique to get at certain pieces of information in your psyche. I was writing these letters from Jennifer to Bernadette and Bernadette back to Jennifer, and watching the flow of dialogue that was going between these two imaginary people. And we were driving through the north of France, which is where I think Lourdes is. And I read these letters to Leonard, or gave them to him to read. And he said, "There's a song in this." And I said, "Well, where? Where would you find the song?" And he said, "Well, you start by saying, there was a child named Bernadette. I heard the story long ago. She saw the Queen of Heaven once and kept the vision in her soul." And I told Leonard that. I reminded him that that's how the song began. And he said, "God, I wish I could do that twice." So he had that way of distilling complexities into the purest, direct, lyrical way. That was his great gift. And so we wrote that on the bus, and when I got home, I put the music to it.
From her album, Famous Blue Raincoat, this is the Song of Bernadette.
There was a child named Bernadette, I heard the story long ago. She saw the Queen of Heaven once and kept the vision in her soul. No one believed what she had seen. No one believed what she heard, that there were sorrows to be healed, and mercy, mercy in this world. So many hearts I find broke like yours and mine, torn by what we've done and can't undo. I just wanna hold you. Come on, let me hold you like Bernadette would do. We've been around, we fall, we fly. We mostly fall, we mostly run. And every now and then we try to mend the damage that we've done. Tonight I just can't rest. I've got this joy here and inside my breast, to think that I did not forget that child, that song of Bernadette. So many hearts I find, hearts like yours and mine, torn by what we've done and can't undo. I just wanna hold you. Won't you let me hold you like Bernadette would do? I just wanna hold you. Come on, let me hold you like Bernadette would do.
Jennifer, it's been said that your album, Famous Blue Raincoat, popularized Leonard Cohen almost as much as his own work at the time. And it was just hugely popular.
I think there's a group of people that feel that way. I was one of those people that found him in the early 70s and thought that he was better than the America let themselves understand, and that in Europe he was practically a saint. So it just depends on where you're standing as to whether Famous Blue Raincoat leveraged him forward in a certain market. I think both are true.
When I look at comments people have made about you over the years, two interesting things stick out. One is that, have you ever heard the phrase angelic yodeling?
Sure, yeah. I had some writers fishing for some adjectives, I think.
Right. And when I went back and tried to listen for it, and there were some songs when you get up at the top of a range, it just has that little slight warble, and it does sound like if angels could yodel, that's it. It's really beautiful.
Oh, it's just the limitations of my range, I think.
Yodeling is done on high. So.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you sing Gregorian chant, you sing in your head voice, and when you sing pop music, you tend to sing in your chest voice, and so you get caught up there a lot of the time.
And the other thing which was kind of interesting is that, and I may get this wrong, but you were perhaps the only performer who regularly wore glasses during the 70s and 80s.
I don't know if that's something I want to be known for.
But the photos of you in glasses were always really beautiful. I mean, they were on everywhere. Was that one of those things where, like me, you couldn't wear contacts?
Oh, I tried contacts. They felt like hubcaps in my eyeballs.
Yeah.
No, I think the world was just beginning to catch up that it was okay to be who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
You and Elton John and
Yeah.
John Lennon.
Well, there were more. We just weren't progressive in those days to be able to accept somebody for being who they were.
Still difficult in these days.
Yeah, loosening a little bit, though.
A few years later, after Famous Blue Raincoat, you released the album The Hunter. And one of the songs is about a friend of yours, Stevie Ray Vaughan, who died just over 30 years ago.
Yeah. He's all over YouTube, so if you're interested, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Vaughan, probably one of the most gifted guitarists ever in life. And an unusual gift in that he didn't think about what he played, he just played it. And he was a direct conduit between spirit and the sound that he made. So if you were to listen to him, even if you don't like really loud rhythm and blues, which it can be, you'll still understand why he's great. Because there's no separation between, I would say, if you were watching a painting get painted without the paintbrush.
Wow.
That's the way his music sounds like. When Stevie was killed in a helicopter crash 30 years ago, a lot of us who were in love with his artistry were heartbroken because he filled a great void. So I sat down to write about that. And that's a song I wrote called True Emotion.
It's Saturday evening, the breeze is so cool. I feel a shiver inside of my dress. There's so many things they don't teach you in school. Some lessons are tougher than all the rest. A big moon shines over the edge of the sea on the prettiest night if there ever was one. But there ain't no moonlight inside of me now that you are so thoroughly gone. Oh, if I could only hear your true emotion, if I could feel your joy like I used to do. One little cyanide swim in ocean, if I could just find you. Remember the river, so wild and free, that sprung from your fingers so easily, filling a hollow that swallows the rain and carrying you home to the ocean again. Now there ain't nothing, it's dry as a bone. Everyone knows you ain't coming home. It's more than your brothers and sisters can bear. Do you hear us all crying, sighing, calling, calling? Oh, if I could only hear your true emotion, if I could feel your joy like I used to do. One little cyanide swim in ocean, if I could just find it. Oh, too many nights walking the floor
So, Jennifer, what's next for you? Are we going to get to see you perform again? Because my private jet, Southwest, stands ready at the airport.
Well, first of all, I have to be able to go out and get a haircut. We've all been home for like a year. You know, and,
you could get a hat.
I'm looking on the raggedy side, but this program plays in Palm Springs, is it not?
Yes, it does.
Well, I have to do a shout out to my hairdresser who moved from L.A. to Palm Springs a couple years ago, and he's just sitting there. So if you got your private jet, you can go pick up Jimmy Ross.
Okay.
And bring him
Jimmy.
to Texas.
Better work on that pilot's license, George.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're having a sale, so I can probably get some good rates.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. This has been a real thrill for me, and I want more people to discover your music.
Oh, well, I'm so pleased, and you picked some really interesting cuts. I hadn't listened to them in a long time. It was kind of fun to listen along. I like your massive, enormous leap of logic that you have between the Greenbrier and me. Woman as hotel.
Right. As it's practically built into a mountain, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole underground complex.
Well, thank you for your hospitality. I appreciate being with you this night.
This was an encore presentation of U.S. Modernist Radio, underwritten by the Brent R. Harris Charitable Trust, restorer of Richard Neutra's Kaufman Desert House in Palm Springs and 6 other houses in California. By the E. Fay Jones Conservancy, preserving the legacy of modernist architecture in Northwest Arkansas, efayjonesconservancy.org. And by Diane Bald and the Bubman family, restoring significant architecture in Toronto, Los Angeles, Malibu, and Palm Springs. Visit USModernist.org's massive archives to listen to past shows, discover documentation of 25,000 significant modernist houses, and access 5 million pages of classic 20th century architecture magazines. U.S. Modernist Radio is produced by Soundtracks Recording Studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. Our theme song is performed by George Smart and Robinson Earl, with guest research by Bobby Morris. U.S. Modernist Radio is a production of Modernist Archive Incorporated, a nonprofit educational archive for the documentation, preservation, and promotion of modernist residential design. I'm Tom Guild. Listen to any of our over 400 shows at usmodernist.org.